It is your prisonplanet.tv memberships that fund so much of what we do here in this operation. And then we're more than happy for the TV show after it's aired live, then be leaked out onto the web to tens of millions of people. That's our goal. It is Friday, the 18th day of May, 2012, and we are going to be live here for the next 3 hours. Jon Rappoport, investigative journalist, will be joining us with government documents where they admit they're killing hundreds of thousands a year with deadly prescription drugs and hospital malfunctions. So that is coming up in the third hour today, at least part of the third hour today. Jon will be joining us. That said, I am not going to lead off the broadcast today with the Obama birth certificate news. I am going to do that and try to contain myself and be focused at the bottom of the hour. Because I happened to see a newscast this morning on Infowars.com out of Houston that brought up, like, warfare, flashbacks, trauma. And I'm going to cover that first, and I ask God to help me control myself and actually make all the points and be focused and not go into a rage. There is a systematic program killing thousands of children a year in the United States by design. The government tortures the children to death over a long period of time. And this is done in front of everyone. And I have seen it myself, and I am a coward. I discovered this was going on about 14, 15 years ago, when I'd been on air a few years, and people would come to me for help in Central Texas. The more I would help people, the more I would discover. And I found out that they were kidnapping people's children to sell them, but they were also doing medical experiments on them. And I would go to people's homes and see the photographs and home movies of their children, and then hear about them dying in CPS custody or going from, 60 pounds down to 20 pounds. Concentration camp victims. I caught police choking women to make them sign documents to hand their children over. The problem is, see, I have extreme feelings of violence. And then when I hold back the violence, I become physically ill. And I understand why people ignore evil and ignore tyranny, because you don't want to admit it's going on. And then what do you do about it? And so these are areas that I've pretty much ignored, but I realize the base of my rage is the abuse of children. That's where all the rage, all the energy, all the hatred that has been useful in waking people up has come from. That's why it's so real. But I have to transcend it. We have to transcend it from abject disgust and hatred and sorrow for these children to being champions and going up against these people. I've got to reassess everything I do and take action, because, we hit on so many fronts. We cover such a spectrum of information. But the one thing that's so painful, I won't cover it as much as I should. And I won't go out and personalize it and show you these people, is the children and the crying innocent parents. So that's coming up. Also some good news. House approves amendment to limit Pentagon drone spying on Americans. Our report of spy drone almost causes mid-air collision with jet over Denver. FAA investigating. That's up on drudgereport.com, which means it's going mega viral. I want to thank the Drudge Report for covering that real news. our other report, our flashback to the AP saying Obama was born in Kenya. That is up at Drudge as well. Stay with us. Barack Obama's wife, Michelle Obama, has said twice on video, we've played it here, in 07 and 08, that her husband was born in Kenya and went back to his homeland of Kenya. They've given us a fake birth certificate, undoubtedly fake. He had the name Barry Soetoro. He gave up his U.S. citizenship. He was signed up at a mosque as Muslim as a child. I'm not saying it's bad to be a Muslim. The point is, everything about Barack Obama that we've been told is a lie. We don't know who he is. I was not a birther 4.5 years ago, but in the last 3, I have been, because the evidence is overwhelming. And it was like a punch in the stomach yesterday when Breitbart, I saw the Breitbart link, and it was confirmed. They've confirmed that his publicist, his literary publicist, for 17 years, I said 14 in my video I did last night, it's 17, excuse me, from 1991 to 2007, in scores of press releases and official publications, first black president of the Harvard Law Review, born in Kenya, raised in Indonesia and Hawaii, which is exactly the case. And then you've got the Kenyan government saying, yes, his birth records have been cut out criminally. That's an official White House request by Bush. We later learned secretly to find out, because Hillary was running around saying it during the campaign, and they said, yes, his birth records have been cut out. That's smoking gun. But when you add that for 16 and a half, 17 years, his publicist, his spokesperson, in book deals he had, promoted him as Kenyan born, and then you've got his wife saying he was born in Kenya. His grandmother says he was. When Corsi flew over there a few years ago to try to go to the hospital records, they detained him and put him on house arrest till he could get a plane ticket and threw him out of the country. Now, again, people say, well, so what if he's a foreigner, not really American born? The issue is he's blackmailed, ladies and gentlemen, by Hillary. This is the third Clinton administration. And yes, the archive.org, we have screenshots of it. It's up on Drudge Report, drudgereport.com. It's up at Infowars.com. The AP was reporting in 2009 that he was Kenyan born, because they were going off his bio. You can go to my website, Infowars.com, read articles. We have links to Michelle saying, when we went back and visited his home country, his homeland, Kenya. This is the reality. And the Breitbart people are so scared, and they should be. They should dump everything out they know. They're like, we apologize. We don't think he was born in Kenya, but it does say he was born in Kenya, and this was put out for 16 plus years. It's just like people can't believe the NDAA. They can't believe the drones. They can't believe talking streetlights that listen to you and spy on you. They can't believe the CIA director says, yeah, all the new appliances have tech in them watching and listening to you, and the smart meters are controlling them. People can't believe tyranny, and that's why tyranny is almost always able to take over, because people don't learn from history. This is a big, smoking, giant, stinking, most disgusting scientific tyranny anybody has ever seen. It knows what it's doing. It is in everybody's face. It is breaking people's wills, and it is moving into high gear. Red alert. Red alert. Red alert. It was Hillary's campaign that came out and said, where was he born? And then when she couldn't beat him, they made a deal at Bilderberg. We were there covering it. No one else was in the corporate whore media. And now here we are, 4 years later, and it's the Clintons' third term. They own Obama. They run him, the Chicago mob, all of it. That's why Corzine could steal billions and get caught lying to Congress, doesn't get in trouble. That's why Obama could say, I'm launching wars because the UN said so. I mean, the president is a completely compromised, total, over-the-top, blackmailed teleprompter reader. He is the ultimate puppet, the maximum puppet. Everything Webster Tarpley said 4 years ago when we shot the Obama deception, before Obama was in office, when he was president-elect, I started making it the day he won. And you watch that film, 40+ million views total online, free. And it's like prophecy. Everything we said he'd do, he did. Not hard. It's like if you know football and a coach you've been watching for 10 years goes to a new team, you know they're about to change up their defense and offense, and you know the plays and what they're going to do. I mean, you know that coach. I knew who his bosses were, who his financiers were, who he appointed, who he was getting. I knew exactly what he was going to do from A to Z, and it wasn't hard to know. Once you know reality, once you're not buying into the mainstream media garbage, you really know how stuff works, it's not hard, it's simple. But there's one thing that's hard, and that's finding out just how evil these people are. Because then you know you've got a giant responsibility to do something and to say something and to risk your life. And now I am personally far beyond even worrying about myself, my family, my children. Because I know if we don't beat this, there's no future anyways. You understand that? There are things bigger than yourself, bigger than your family. And I got hit with an epiphany. I already knew this. Everybody knows this. But it really hit me how important it is. We're in the shape we are because we've been taught about the me generation, where people get off on their neighbors failing, get off on others having a problem. They don't care as long as it's not them. People join the system and they think it's funny what's going on. They think it's a shield, something valuable that they don't care about others. When you create a society like that, everything starts rotting and falling apart and degenerating. When you do as thou wilt, when you only care about yourself, you create a hellish world. But the do as thou wilt crowd is scientifically genius when it comes to evil. They know how to get most people to join evil and being selfish and thinking they're getting ahead. But with those that are good of heart and have common sense and come from good bloodlines of people that had love and decency, more and more I realize that's why the elite are into this. It's true. Just like with breeds of dogs. There's sweet ones and there's mean ones. There's gregarious and true to the end, and there's wicked. And by breeds, I mean even within subgroups of so-called human race and different groups, there's different bloodlines within those groups. And they know how to target those of us that are good at heart. I'm as wicked as the day is long. Areas of my mind, I can see what the evil sees. You see, really good people actually can see the evil and the good. But that is a more rare type. Most people that are just good are good and trusting and are not full spectrum. And they cannot understand what's happening. They don't understand the enemy. They can't think like the enemy. They can't get in the enemy's mind. They're sheep. They're not sheepdogs. I'm a sheepdog. Many people are sheep. Many are wolves. The globalists try to convert sheep sympathizers to serve the wolves, believing they're going to win, but they're still stupid sheep. So you have these meek, well-meaning people who get manipulated through guilt and systems to actually serve the dark side by following false propaganda templates that actually aid and abet the system of evil. And then when the good sheep, but the naive sheep, are confronted with this, they always want to defend the evil and make excuses because they don't want to believe that they've signed on to a lie and something bad. They don't want to believe they've been wrong. But to all of you yuppies and trendies and every race, color, religion, and creed's got them, who think it's funny and who think laughing at corruption is funny and who think that rationalizing things and making excuses for it and only caring about yourself. It's a gross analogy, but I have to use it because it's the only way to really document it. Why do you not like going to a big city pool? Because there's hundreds of people in it, and none of them care about anybody else, and they're urinating in the pool. Sometimes you'll get even a 10-year-old kid who's lazy. They'll get in the pool and crap in it. Excuse my French. Now, that's what tyranny and corruption is. See, they sell sin and wickedness and corruption like it's sexy and fun and neat. That's the surface. The truth is about evil is it's basically everybody getting in the pool and going to the bathroom. And you're like, ha, they're all going to be in my you-know-what. You're in theirs, too. You understand that? And then you're in a world of you-know-what. And the truth is, people that give in to evil, most of them do it because they're scared of it. Most people that go out and embrace Satanism, Luciferianism, worldliness, all of this, that do it on the surface, they do it because it scares them. They're perceptive enough. That's why many people who would have been champions for good end up joining evil. But they still have good in them. In their spirit, in their bloodline, in their history. They still have a chance. And that's why the dark side, the true dark workers, they hate you. Those of you that are power slave servants who are good, who are stronger than them, and even stronger in evil because of the good you have, that's why they always destroy you and hate you. I'm giving you the deepest secrets here. I hope you realize this. When we come back, we are going to go into the heart of darkness, the absolute heart of human sacrifice of children publicly in America. Oh, yes. Thank you for joining us. All right, let me get into the top story today. No, I'm not talking about drones. I'm not talking about people being arrested now for buying raw milk. They're now going after the consumers all over the country. California, Minnesota, you name it. It's on. No, I'm not talking about all that. I want to go directly to the heart of the matter here with you today. Now, this morning, I got up at about 6:30 and went into Infowars.com to see what was being posted in the early morning hours, and saw a video linked to my Fox Houston. 3-year-old in CPS care, overprescribed psychiatric drugs. And I thought, overprescribed, what does that mean? And that's the same talking point they use in all the articles I have. Oh, they put the average child they grab on 7 psychotropic drugs, then they start having seizures, then they put them on anti-seizure medication, and a lot of the time they end up dying. A WOAI TV investigation in San Antonio showed. And on average, 69% of foster children in the U.S. are on psychotropics. And on average, they are on 7. And in every case, watching this newscast, it shows 400-pound CPS workers, black social workers. There's 3 types of social workers. There's the pot-bellied, mustache, pedophile, male. There's the fat, weirdo white woman. And then there's the giant, fat black woman. I don't know why, but that's what they all look like. And they're laughing. It's real funny. They've been trying to get this little girl for 3 years off and on grabbing her. They've got photos and video of her before they got her for 2 months. Afterwards, she looked like a concentration camp victim. You got to go to Infowars.com to watch the video and see it for yourself if you're a radio listener. And I'm watching this video, and I'm having flashbacks to going to family court, which is really eugenics court here in Austin 14, 15 years ago, and I really got into focusing on it and covering it almost every day. And how they would take poor people's children at birth for no reason, or their favorite thing is to test the mother who doesn't know they're going into a prison camp, and they find marijuana in her blood, a lot of times falsely. And they take the child, and they take babies at age 1 and put them on Prozac. Because crying is mentally ill for a baby. I'm not joking. They put 1-year-olds on it. Look it up. Tens of thousands of 2-year-olds. and they turn them into zombies. And that's even better because then they get more federal funding to do that. Now that they're an at-needs, at-risk child. Now, once they've got them about age 7 and they can't talk and they're zombies, they then take them and chain them down and test drugs and chemicals and pesticides on them. Source on that, New York Daily News. Because I went back this morning and printed 10 or so mainstream articles where they admit they test pesticides on them. So, let me explain again. They take them when they're done with them, and they've sucked millions out of them, federal and state funds, once they make you disabled. And I've had the doctors on. I've met the families whose children they've killed, and I've been at their houses with the families where they're showing their little 3-year-old daughter. It's little girls is their favorite to kill. They kill them. And they're laughing, running around totally normal. And then you see the autopsy photos. And, of course, CPS has the government behind them. They don't get in trouble. They're DynCorp usually. You see them. They look like what you see in the Nazi Germany film footage. Eyes sunk in. They look like a wraith. And they win. They kill them. They win. And nobody's coming to save them. Nobody's coming to help them. And they kill tens of thousands of them a year, conservatively. You can look it up. You're 5 times more likely to die in foster care than in any other parents, grandparents, you name it. You are 7 times more likely, look these up, these are Justice Department's own numbers, they're very proud of them, to be raped or get an STD while in their care. And we just allow this. No one is their champion, no one stands for them. In fact, to the contrary, everywhere is give money to CPS, little baskets at the gas stations, and give money to the foster care facilities filled with child-raping pedophiles and worse. And I was thinking about how I have fame, I have fortune. The New World Order's ignored everything we do. That's only made us bigger. It's only given us the seal of authenticity. And none of it means anything. Not knowing movie stars, not knowing famous people, not knowing Willie Nelson, Jesse Ventura, not knowing, Beatles and people like that. None of that means anything. Other than the fact that I would give my life up. I would give everything up to be able to defend one of these children in the clutches of the Child Pedophile Services. CPS, nationwide, worldwide, is the same model. And this isn't hyperbole I'm talking about here. And again, I raise the point of being successful, reaching millions and millions of people a day and growing exponentially. I raise that point not to say, oh, I'm a big shot, to say the opposite. This morning, I was going to go for a jog to be healthy, and I couldn't do it. I went in and sat on the floor and played with my little daughter and played hide and seek and stuff. Which I normally do in the morning, but then I go jog, and I spent time with her. And I just imagined and empathized with all these families having their children taken because their child falls off the jungle gym, or because they say that, they went in to get surgery and the hospital doesn't tell you, by the way, we're running your blood extrajudicially without a warrant to take your children from you so the government can drug them. And I just stood there in the hallway before I went in and took a shower. And I just thought about, wow, none of this really matters. And one of the final chunks of my ego burned away. And one of the final chunks of fear that I didn't even know I had burned away. And in its place, an absolute, total commitment to do more, and a true realization of just how pathetic I am, and how I have this incredible platform, and I am not dedicated. I am pathetic. And And a lot of people would look at that and say, Alex, you are incredibly dedicated, more than anybody. Yeah, and that shows how pathetic we all are. And that's why I'm talking about myself, because it's a journey we're all having or should be having. It's a discussion we should be having. When you're self-centered and you automatically put blinders on because you can't believe how hardcore reality is, you allow evil to continue to operate and expand. And I just thought about how the final level of fear that I have is the fear of the pain, because I do have empathy. That's my strength, is that I am connected to others. I know you are as well. And the world, the system, seeks to remove that from us. They are selling us on torture and secret arrest, and the TV shows put down children and talk about how they're scum and old people are gross, and all of this so that we won't stand together as humans, as this alien force of psychopaths, alien to what true humanity is, this mutated, disgusting guild of control freaks and scum and perverts that form these colony systems of government and megacorporations that are mining us and feeding on us and attacking humanity. I just want to see us rise against them and grapple and grab their arms and just slowly, inexorably, with total commitment and dedication, rip their arms out of their sockets. And I mean that figuratively, because that's where the real power is spiritually. And then taking that spiritual energy, that truth, and pouring it into the enemy by the force of will, just leaning our weight against them. You want to suffocate us? We're going to lean against you with total dedication and commitment of victory over you. Because I have seen it. I have witnessed things that you cannot believe. If I told you, and I have told you, you cannot understand until you've seen it. One cannot be told about evil. You have to experience it first. I had a devil went down to Georgia experience yesterday. I was driving along through the country and came to this low water crossing. And there, parked on their motorcycle, sitting there in the sunshine with birds tweeting, was a very famous person who's known for being evil. And I stopped and I looked out the window and he said, "Finally we meet." And I pulled over and got out and talked to the person. And it was just bizarre. Maybe I'll get him on the show sometime. Let me tell you, ladies and gentlemen, the spirit world is real. The New World Order is real. And the slow, tortured murder of our children is real. You know, they tell you 52 million aborted babies since '74. The year I was born. Roe v. Wade was what, 73, went into place the next year. It's taken 52 million Americans and blasted them into infinity. They don't get to go to school. They don't get to be cool. But now the eugenicists, the heads of major universities, Peter Singer and others say, the heads of major departments, we're going to get rid of babies up to age 3. And Bill Gates laughs and says, we don't give grandma treatment, you get 10 jobs. And the women, the teachers, ooh, they clap. Jack Bauer tortures somebody's kid in front of him in a simulated torture to get the answers, and he saves the day. Devil got you. Could you ever have imagined Could you ever have imagined that you would be cheering the torture of children in front of their parents? To get Al-Qaeda, of course, who publicly works for the Pentagon. Did you ever think? Let me get to the main news here before I get into the other big news. Obama, in his own official PR press releases for 16 and a half years, saying he was born in Kenya. Before I get to that, I want to get into the top story here. And to get to this news story today, and this newscast I'm going to play part of, and if you're a radio listener, it doesn't do justice unless you go and watch the video. And I'm going to have Kurt repost it on the main page. It's already scrolled off, so it was put up there early this morning. Just look at the breaking news, red link, and it'll take you into the RSS feed. You can find it. 3-year-old in CPS care overprescribed psychotropic drugs. You have to see the video. You have to see her healthy, happy, running around giggling. 2 months after they have her, drooling, looks like a concentration camp victim, rotten teeth. And that's the standard deal. Because I've seen I've seen their little gravestones. I've seen their dead bodies and photos. I've opened the door when the woman's calling me saying, they're here, they're taking my baby. And you get there and the little blue-collar family's there, but they got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby. And you open the door and the cop is choking the woman, saying, sign it. And then the cop looks up and you're looking into a demon's eyes and they smile because they know you can either take them there and go to prison for the rest of your life, or I then aided and abetted the evil and stood down as the wraiths took the child. I aided and abetted it right there. That's why don't ever call me and tell me I'm good and how great I am. You understand? You should be ashamed of yourself as well. Our best works are dirty rags. And again, I'm not afraid of going to prison standing up against these people. I know I've got to stand and testify so that those that are on the fence in this evil are given a choice. That's why I'm here, is so you can make a decision who you serve. It's the most important decision you're ever going to make. And you got to serve somebody, just like Bob Dylan says. You got to serve somebody. As for me and my house, I know who I serve. And watching the video, my wife was walking in while I was watching her this morning. She brought me some coffee, and she's like, oh, it's so horrible. And then we don't have fights hardly ever. We got a little bit of argument an hour later because we were upset. I came in here to the office. There was some problems. I blew up. And it's because this stuff gets to us. As humans, we see little humans being hurt. It's normal. I mean, you try to go up and hurt a calf in a field. Normally, docile cows are going to run you over. It's the same thing. And we're not cows, folks. We're aggressive, intelligent, powerful creatures who fought our way through so much to build a civilization only to let a subgroup of predators set up a predatory system over humanity. And I said, I've got to do a report on this today. I've got to break down how it's premeditated and why they're doing it. You know, as the epiphanies and understandings are hitting me of the years of knowledge, as I access all that data and it sweeps over me, the full spectrum of the master plan, the pain, the horror, the desire to defeat it and stop it and somehow be articulate enough to reach out to you and somehow find that lever, that switch I flip to turn humanity loose to defeat these people. And so I spent about 20 minutes and I sent these articles to the crew, but I want you to have this journey. Go to the NSA search engine, Google, or go to startpage.com. Go there and just type in foster children pesticide, foster children medical experimentation, foster children radiation experimentation, foster children dioxin experimentation, foster children sterilized, foster children dead, foster child dead, Foster children 5 times more likely to be abused or to be on drugs. 7 times more likely to be sexually abused. DynCorp, child trafficking rings. DynCorp, CPS contractors. Do it. Do it. Go look and see what I've seen. And this is just one avenue of what I've got to watch go on and know is going on everywhere. And I just want to find the lever to stop these people. That lever is you. You know, you Masons out there claim you're such humanitarians. You're so many times raising money for the CPS and all these groups doing it. And I want you to know that. So if you claim you were good at some time in history, okay, where are you fighting this? You police claim you're so good, and when somebody kidnaps a kid, you make a big deal out of it and grandstand and police get up there and cry and stuff. Okay, do something about this. Do something about your special units that are assigned to this in every county, in every city. I don't care what your bosses say. I don't care what anybody says. You need to do what it takes to stop it. Or you know what? You're aiding and abetting it. Just by... I feel totally guilty and horrible and dirty just fighting it for years and then getting so sick by it that I had to still talk about it on air but back off from it. You go out and help these people. Let me tell you something. You're going to lead a cursed life. You don't have to worry about Alex Jones coming and popping you with, you know, my fist or something. Let me tell you something, folks. God's real. The world's real. What comes around goes around is real. And you know it. That's why the hair's crawling on the back of your neck right now. That's God saying, I'm knocking at the door. And if people need to come to the altar, and I mean in front of God, in front of goodness, in front of everything, and admit we've been evil, admit we've been wrong, and say we're not going to put up with this anymore. CPS is the most abusive, wicked, evil system, and it's the same thing worldwide. I got articles here where they're taking people's kids in Australia. Family courts are. There's no law because they're not vaccinating. But the court says we say that's abuse, not a real court. That's in the news today. It's the same in Australia, same in Europe. It's a global standardized program where there's bounties. And each year, CPS has to get more to get their roughly 30% of their funding from the feds. They also get their funding boosted by grabbing the child, and they say this on the news. When the child cries, they grab your 2-year-old, your 4-year-old, they cry, they immediately put them on hardcore Valium-type drugs and stuff even more hardcore. I mean, you read the list, antipsychotics, lithium, and the children in these videos have their tongues hanging out, rotten teeth, and stop eating and die. They actually kill them. That's why they had a CPS doctor go public 5 years ago in WOAI TV and radio. You can look that up. Foster children, prescribed psychotropic drugs, prescription drugs, WOAI, the article pops up. And they point out there, 2/3 plus are on it. And the doctor says, yeah, I've been working in the CPS for a few years. I see them bring in totally healthy 5-, 6-, 7-year-old children and 3-year-olds as well. And he says, within 6 months, they're on 7 drugs. Then they're having seizures from them. Then they put them on seizure drugs. Then they do brain surgery. Then they die. I mean, folks, it'd be one thing if they took them up on an altar, you know, with black robes on and chopped their hearts out. That would be more, or just torture them for a few hours as Satanists do. That's a loving death as they scream and beg for mommy. Just like that man did as the police beat him to death over in 10 minutes. That's a loving death compared to begging for their mommy in the dark in these facilities full of all these other kids, strapping them down, drugging them, and killing them. And I've got the articles right here. Look them up. Goes over it. 2 out of 3 foster children in Texas on psychotropic drugs, WOAI, and then you read about what they're doing to them. The average is 7. We went to the state of Texas, and in hearings, the head psychiatrist said they got bad genes. They deserve it. That clip's in Endgame. And laughed. It's funny. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to play part of this newscast when we come back. But these children are under attack right now. What are you doing to protect them? You see, every authoritarian state seeks to take children. The Soviets did it. The Nazis did it. The Communist Chinese have done it. The Romans did it. Every culture does this. Every corrupt empire system. Because evil people have had the same taste throughout history. They like to hurt kids. That's the ultimate wicked exercise of power. The entities that are in them, if you believe in God or for whatever, might as well be a demon, they enjoy it. And I've seen them. I have faced them. And they are pure evil, 1 billion times more evil than the fake Al-Qaeda. And they are now, in the name of Al-Qaeda, training your children to be molested at the airports. People used to say, get the government out of my bedroom. Now they got the low-flush toilets that don't work. Get them out of my bathroom. How about get the government out of my pants? Now, it's a 7-minute news report. And, you know, they say the parents were caught. She had the little girl 3 years ago. They tested her blood, marijuana, boom, took her child. They don't tell you have the right to remain silent. There's no warrant. We're taking your blood. Oh, it's a danger for the child. But they want to give you all these vaccines that are deadly with mercury in them. Again, they claim they're fighting a mother on marijuana, and then their evil is 1 billion times worse. So they took the child in, they battled, got her back, and the parents are these country types who think it's cool to recreationally, I know this type from Houston, yeah, we did some cocaine, and the woman went in to get, you know, tested. And they're like, you know, borderline, blue-collar, you know, trashy in my view. If I had them on air, I'd tell them that. But the grandmother's fighting for them. And so they take her again. But then what do they do to the little girl? They put her on a whole bunch of antipsychotics because the little happy 3-year-old, when you see the video, healthy, happy, was crying for mommy. That's called mental illness. And of course, CPS lied and said she wasn't on drugs. Turned out it was a whole bunch of them. So they take you and put you on stuff that literally rots your brain and your organs. Super toxic stuff because mommy was using drugs. But folks, I see cases where you won't take a vaccine. There's no law. They still, because you're ignorant, have the family court take your children. I see them do it on a host of issues. And again, they are 7 times more likely to sexually abuse children. There is no one in America statistically more evil. No kidding. And of course, who do they get? They get people out of the welfare system who were CPS themselves. In my experience, again, they're building armies out of inner city people. And you watch this video, it looks like self-propelled stomachs. I'm not trying to be mean, it's just that that's the archetype, who are laughing. It's all funny to them. And, you know, even in rich areas of Austin, I talk to wealthy people who have children. And a neighbor just won't like them, and he'll say, I saw them beating their child. And they describe it as every time. Big, giant, 500-pound, 400-pound women show up, can hardly talk, Jack talking them, laughing at them, going, you know, saying, we're going to get you, rich man. I mean, so understand, folks, it's not just the poor people they've been feeding on now. They're going after everybody, and nobody's safe. And I haven't even gotten to this newscast yet. It is unbelievable. It's at Infowars.com. Houston CPS forces 3-year-old to take overprescribed psychiatric drugs. And again, that's a story right there. Overprescribed. It's now over 2/3 are. And they admit she was never on drugs. She's now 4. Never had any problems. And she looks like a concentration camp victim. But see, then I got the other articles. I'm going to do a newscast on this tonight on the Nightly News, where they take foster children and actually test pesticide on them, killing them. But it's like, well, it's the government. I mean, you know, it's like testing on troops. The government's allowed to nerve gas troops. The government's pure evil.
Tonight, a young couple's recreational drug use is the reason Child Protective Services want to terminate those parental rights.
But wait until you hear and see what happened to their 4-year-old daughter while in CPS's care. Here's Randy Wallace with an Only on Fox investigation.
Who's going to get it out?
You drive him out.
For now, 4-year-old Rachel Harrison is back with her parents.
She belongs with her mother and her father.
But if Children's Protective Services has its way, Rachel's 28-year-old father, David, and her 24-year-old mother, Christina, will not be her legal guardians. CPS wants her to be adopted by non-relatives.
If it was up to them, absolutely. They'd take her away in a heartbeat.
You're probably thinking David and Christina must have done something really awful to their little girl for CPS to spend almost a year trying to terminate their parental rights.
And they actually testified in the first hearing that Rachel was never neglected, never abused, and she was a happy, healthy child.
Neither parent has been convicted of a felony, so then why is the state agency so hell-bent on stripping this couple of their parental rights?
I went to the hospital to get my appendix out and tested positive for cocaine.
Did you test positive too, David?
Yes.
Even though CPS has offered no evidence in court that Rachel was ever harmed by her parents' prior drug use, just the fact that they've done drugs is enough for CPS to say they should not be parents.
Why were y'all doing drugs?
Just recreational use. Out with friends, you know, holidays, an occasion. Never did it with Rachel around.
Last July, CPS took custody of Rachel.
Well, at first, we didn't see her for 3 or 4 months. They refused visitations.
When they finally got supervised visits with Rachel, family members say they couldn't believe their eyes. You might not either. Check this out. Here's a picture of Rachel that was taken 1 week before CPS took custody of her. Here she is in January, after 6 months in CPS's care.
When I was seeing her in foster care, it was killing me.
Well, every time we'd go to see her at visitation,
She was skinnier.
she would get skinny and she'd, you know, just be lethargic, not wanting to move, not wanting to say hi, and just sort of sit in the corner and just keep to herself.
Not even play.
And that's not her.
She would be drooling at the mouth. Her tongue would be hanging out. She couldn't focus. It was terrible. And I asked them, I said, is she on drugs? They said no.
But in a January court hearing, CPS admitted that the then 3-year-old was put on a number of psychotropic drugs, including risperidone, a drug commonly used to treat schizophrenia.
They take her away from you because they say you all were doing drugs. Then they take a 3-year-old and they put her on drugs.
Yes.
What do you think about that?
I think no 3-year-old needs to be put on psychotropic drugs. None of them are psychotic.
According to court transcripts, there seems to be a question as to which CPS contracted doctor prescribed all the medications and why. Caseworkers have testified they had to place Rachel in various foster homes because she would act up. She acted up, her parents say, because she wanted to be home with them.
The only way to control her at that time is to dope her up.
While most judges seem to just rubber stamp the wishes of CPS, Associate Judge Stephen Newhouse is the complete opposite. We were in the courtroom for 2 recent hearings, and the judge didn't even try to hide his frustration. In one hearing, the judge said, quote, "There's no evidence the child had any behavioral issues before CPS came into her life. As soon as CPS takes her, now she needs help." In the hearings we attended, CPS suddenly changed caseworkers.
So no caseworker knows what the other caseworker's doing.
Whenever the judge would ask caseworkers...
Yes, yet another document, actually scores of documents, have come out from Barack Obama himself, from his publicist, saying that he was born in Kenya. In book reviews by his publicist, his literary publicist, over 16 and a half years, Barack Obama advertised himself as born in Kenya. We have 2 video clips of his wife saying it. You just type in Michelle Obama says Obama visited his homeland. Video pops up right there, 2 different times. In 07 and 08, she said it. Everyone that knew him said his name was Barry Soetoro. They said that was a conspiracy theory for 3 years. Then a year after that, about a year ago, they came out and said, you know what, he was born in Hawaii, but his name was Barry Soetoro. And yeah, here's all the documents, and here's his friends. And all his records are sealed, all of it. And now we get this literary agent in all these publications of all these years, and in the big Harvard publications and everything, saying, born in Kenya, born in Kenya, born in Kenya, born in Kenya. And then Dr. Corsi goes over there a few years ago, and they arrest him and put him on house arrest. And then expanding on that, they say, oh, we've released his birth certificate, and it's a computer receipt printout. And then they go, oh, we did find it. Here's the original form you keep asking for, and it looks like a 5-year-old made it. And when, I mean, I got it, blew it up, saw that it was a fake font typewriter, computer font that looks like typewriter. We even know the name of it, because the A's and Q's and I's and T's were all identical. They had fake ink splats around them, but they were identical. Every strike on a typewriter is different. How hard you push, where it hits on the tape, how it smudges, where it hits on the paper. It's like a fingerprint. These were 100% identical. It's fake. There's a fake typewriter computer font. We even know the name. That's why the police in different areas get it and they go, I can't believe it. This entire thing is like a 5-year-old made it. You know, we have that video out. It's got like 1 million views online. Over on the nightly news, I broke down that the birth certificate was fake day one. How did I know? I said, okay, it's in multiple layers. That's not just the computer program. It was made in different layers, and this is a fake typewriter font. Notice here, the A up here is identical to this one with the exact fake splat here. You understand? It's faking splats, but a computer doesn't generate a new fake splat each time. It looks like it's a typewriter type, but it's not. And people sit there and go, oh, whatever, you birther. I wasn't a birther, but the guy's not who he says he is, okay? Period. We're in a lot of trouble here. It's in the game, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I haven't even gotten to that yet, because I saw a case out of Houston that isn't even one of the bad ones. And I went and looked up where the CPS takes children to medical companies. New York State is the worst. I mean, if you live in Manhattan, the city's even worse. And they take mainly black people's kids. And the incredible part is, it's black people taking black people. And they take them. And in this one case that was in New York Daily News 5 years ago, and I was able to pull it back up, just type in children taken in New York pesticides. It'll come up. There's thousands of them. And they come and they tell the black woman, we're going to take your 2-year-old if you don't sign papers and stop fighting to give us your 7-year-old. And they take the 7-year-old and over a month-plus period, torture him to death. Totally healthy, happy, and they murder him. And then finally, some sanity cuts in, I guess a little bit of black pride, some used to that, and goes, well, wait a minute, we're delivering black kids to be killed. So the CPS, because they were black, spoke out. I guess it'd be all right if it was a white kid they were doing it, and believe me, they do it to them too, but blacks are their favorite because they're easier to get. They're like, it's just black people, you know, kill them, let God sort them out. It's kind of the attitude of these globalists. And then the CPS workers got in trouble for talking about it. I mean, folks, this is murdering children. This is murdering them. And so, no, my top story is not Barack Obama or the fact that our articles are on the Drudge Report and everywhere else and millions of people are hitting Infowars.com and the site's barely staying up right now. Because you know what? Ladies and gentlemen, this story explains everything to us. How you can have over 1 million children a year taken by CPS. And if it's some Hispanic baby or black baby that the mills don't want to adopt out, they can get around $400,000 for a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby. They just only get some of the black and Hispanic kids because they only need so many of those for medical experiments. They're mainly used for medical experiments. John is in there putting different stuff on screen, all the groups fighting it, Bayer testing on the kids, the pesticides, all of it. It's unbelievable. And they get EPA and government waivers to do it. Well, of course, I mean, they've killed tens of thousands of our troops in these tests. Oh, yeah, they tell them, oh, your son died of the flu, after they tell them a week after they die because they dissect the body. And they march the private in, flip the switch, hit him with sarin or VX, and dissect his brain an hour later. These are good people in the government. You know, they didn't do 9/11. Man, they're nice. They wouldn't do, the government wouldn't do something like that. Oh, no. They wouldn't bring 20,000 Nazis over here to head up NASA, the CIA, and every other agency with Operation Paperclip. No, they're nice. They're nice people. The stuff that went on in the Angel of Death's laboratory is nothing compared to what goes on in Austin, Texas with little kids they take. And let me tell you, all of you that help them, the police, the judges, all of you, most of these judges are pedophiles that are involved. I didn't take one look at them and see that. But the point is, all you cops that go along with this, you are cursed. And I'm not the one cursing you. But I just pray right now that all of us pray that all of those that abuse these children and hurt them, that we ask God to bring judgment upon them, because we are weak and pathetic and are weak vessels, and we are trying as hard as we can as pathetic vessels to stand up for the children. But God, we call on you. Now, I thought about doing this morning. I'm doing it right now on air. God, I call on you right now to make an example of these wicked doers. And I call on you and ask you that you will judge them now. Judge them now and bring them to their knees like Saul of Tarsus. That you will judge them now today. I want them listening now today. I want them to see what happens now. In the name of Jesus Christ, I ask you, Father, to come to the aid of these children. You said it would be better for them, those that have hurt the little ones, to tie a millstone around their neck and be thrown into the deepest sea. Well, I ask you to bring judgment upon them now. I want all of you to pray that. I want judgment brought on these people right now. And believe me, they know too. We've only done this a few other times, and let me tell you, there's going to be a lot of people hurting today. And they deserve it. But you know what? I don't take any pleasure in how hellish your lives are because you're evil. I want you to stop hurting these children, you wicked hyenas. I see you. I smell your stench, and you make me want to throw up. And let me tell you, there's a lot of people that got direct lines to God out there praying right now that you be brought to justice one way or another. And again, it just hits me that we've not done enough to cover this and to focus on this, and we're going to start really focusing on this. And the problem is the crying and the begging and the people calling, and you go to their house and you want to believe they're bad, and it turns out they're not, or it's because they got blood tested to get surgery, and they smoke marijuana, and then you throw them in with people that put their kids on an average of 7 drugs in these big, dirty facilities where the kids get raped and everything. I mean, my God, this is evil. And it's all premeditated. I wrote some notes this morning. This is not an accident. This is coordinated. This is the same all over the world now. This is done the same. We must champion these children. Those of you out there, this is my main message. You're like, well, what do you do? Start going to family court and watching. Get involved when your neighbors are under attack. Call into talk radio. Spread articles around about CPS abuse. When you're in a store, most gas stations, and they've got a thing for the local house for children that have been taken. It's help abuse children. Folks, they're probably raping those kids 24/7 in there. They don't have them drugged up out of their minds. I mean, let me tell you, most of these things are just big money-making operations. Are there real foster parents and real good people out there? Yeah, you'll see them. They're usually, you got to typecast them, they're white Christians who've adopted, 10 mentally retarded black children. Those people are all over the place. So there are real ones out there, okay? I know some of them. There's missionaries in all the world, and they come back, have 6, 7, and they'll have a, autistic white kid, and they'll have a couple of retarded black children, and some, genetic disorder Hispanic kids, and they're all in there taking care of them. There are those people out there, but that's who the system uses to hold out there. Most of it is just, well, look at the statistics. It is a hell pit. I mean, I'll never forget that newscast. We can't find it. It's like 5 years ago, where in 1 week in a little town, CPS had 2 kids drowned who they had, and they're like, children will die. That's just the way it is. That's the accent of the guy. Children will die. A lot of you heard that when I played it a bunch on air. That's just the way it is. Children will die. And so, you're told when to care for a child. You're told when to get upset by the media. Or, oh, Amber Alert, missing kid. Missing kid, they're grabbing 1 million of them a year. They're doing medical experiments on them. You don't believe me? Type in medical experiments on foster children. They kill them. Just like our troops. Again, does that tell you how evil this government is, folks? Folks, we got taken over at least 60 years ago by a scientific dictatorship of eugenicists. Those of you that serve this system are aiding and abetting it. And just know you have been warned. It's on you. And God sees you and knows. You may lie to yourself and rationalize the truth is there. But for those of us that are aware, we've got to become champions of these children. We've got to demand due process with these family courts. We've got to expose what set the family courts up to begin with, the eugenicists that created Hitler. All right, I'm going to get into Obama. Barry Soetoro coming up in the next segment. But imagine, they say, oh, you used marijuana, we're going to take your children. They took these people's daughter then, they got her back. It was a big news battle then. So the young couple, they're a good-looking little couple, were dumb enough to recreationally use cocaine the government ships in. And so they take her again. But girls, in good shape, they're fine. You know, the prescription drugs they're pushing are even worse than that. They just put these drugs out there as an excuse to get your kids. But I see it where a neighbor says you spank them, even though that's not illegal, and they come with their fake courts and try to take them. The point is, they are preying on our children, they are hunting for them, and they are off-the-charts criminals. Look at how many pedophiles they keep busting at CPS. Of course. Who wants, even if you were a good person, to take someone's kicking, screaming child away from them? The government says they want to end the family. The government says, you know, babies could be killed at age 3. They don't care about you. Here's part of the newscast that I've been discussing so much here in the last hour. And again, the whole thing's up at Infowars.com. Go ahead and roll it.
Tonight, a young couple's recreational drug use is the reason Child Protective Services want to terminate those parental rights.
But wait until you hear and see what happened to their 4-year-old daughter while in CPS's care. Here's Randy Wallace with an Only on Fox investigation.
Who's going to get it out?
You drive them out.
For now, 4-year-old Rachel Harrison is back with her parents.
She belongs with her mother and her father.
But if Children's Protective Services has its way, Rachel's 28-year-old father, David, and her 24-year-old mother, Christina, will not be her legal guardians. CPS wants her to be adopted by non-relatives.
If it was up to them, absolutely. They'd take her away in a heartbeat.
You're probably thinking David and Christina must have done something really awful to their little girl for CPS to spend almost a year trying to terminate their parental rights.
And they actually testified in the first hearing that Rachel was never neglected, never abused, and she was a happy, healthy child.
Neither parent has been convicted of a felony, so then why is the state agency so hell-bent on stripping this couple of their parental rights?
I went to the hospital to get my appendix out and tested positive for cocaine.
Did you test positive too, David?
Yes.
Even though CPS has offered no evidence in court that Rachel was ever harmed by her parents' prior drug use, just the fact that they've done drugs is enough for CPS to say they should not be parents.
All right, let's stop right there. Let's stop right there. But it's okay for Bill Clinton to be president. Again, this is another issue. I've had 3 children, and we had them in a hospital because my wife wanted to. And the doctor's a listener, and that was all great. All 3 times they sat there and said, would you bring this downstairs, sir, this file? And then, like, how much money you got? Does your husband beat you? While they're typing in a computer to CPS. And by the second time I figured it out, and I started confronting them. And then they'd act really weird. It's always an old nurse on a power trip. You're going into a prison. You're going into a race hygiene facility. They're violating your rights. It's totally criminal. They need to be sued. Just like hospitals are being sued for stealing corneas and stealing organs. See, they're criminal institutions. Most of them are. And that's why, as long as they do that, they're allowed to do it. They're in on the local mafia. And they've got their little control freak nurses and all this who live in their own Nazi Germany where they're forced to take vaccines outside law. And next thing, will you take this down? And I go, look, I already done this, honey. Do you abuse your children when you had them? Do you have kids, lady? Oh, I bet you don't. Listen, I'm Alex Jones. I know what's going on. I'm not some stupid person in here. I know you're violating my rights, trying to put stuff in a database right there, and I know my rights, and I'm going to sue you so hard you're going to be in Alaska next week if you give me any problems. Now stop cornering my wife. Oh my gosh, he is mean. Is he mean? You know, imagine. So, honey, how's your life? How you doing money-wise? They use that to take your kids. Oh, at risk, boom, CPS are coming. Coming to Shark to see if it fits into what, anybody wants to adopt. Oh, my gosh, black hair, green eyes. We can get $500,000 for that. Oh, my gosh, you're a bad parent. I mean, this is what they do. This is what they do. And they're sitting there preying on you. You're just a nice, friendly, dumb American, the right whale, the one everybody wants to hunt because we're stupid. and gullible, and we won't ever stand up for ourselves because we think we're so free. And they're sitting there literally preying on us. And the first time I came back, my wife's like, oh my gosh, you warned me about CPS stuff. She was just asking me questions, put in a computer. How much money do we have? Am I ever mean to you? Do I have a job? The average person comes in, do you have a job? No, our mother-in-law is paying for stuff right now. I'm looking for a job. You know, we're about to get an apartment in 2 weeks when I get, this paycheck coming to me from the oil fields, and we got an apartment we're getting. Boom, your kid's gone. I've been to so many places where you're living in a week-to-week apartment. They find out you're unemployed. You got a blonde-haired, blue-eyed newborn baby. Your kid's gone. They are spiders, kidnappers that do it through the system. All right, I'm going to finish up this newscast, and then for the second half of the transmission, get into all the other news. I was going to lead the show with Barack Obama in his own official literature over 16 and a half years, from 91 to 2007, saying he was born in Kenya. From his publicist. I mean, he was born in Kenya. Think about that. He's totally blackmailed. The system knows it. The Clintons are running the White House. The ones that originally brought this up. Glenn Beck's like, Hillary brought this up, so it's a lie. No, they've got the FBI files on everybody. He's born in Kenya. His whole family's CIA, so they dummied it up, put the announcement in the newspaper where his grandparents, who were CIA, lived. That's all come out. We reverse engineered the whole thing. So in a way, he really is American. I mean, technically, he's Kenyan, but I can understand why they dummied it up for him. His mom was CIA. That guy in Kenya is probably not even his father, but it does look like she was there and had the baby. Were those records that were cut out. I'm going to get into it. The point is, he's not who he says he is, and that compromises the presidency. And no wonder we're seeing it worse than ever. And there's so much other control freak news. Fat tax could curb nation's obesity problem. A school's been fined money by the federal government for having junk food. I mean, the feds can feed you GMO and grab you and put you on 7 psychotropics as a toddler and then kill you, but they're going to keep you from eating a piece of cake. Let me tell you, my grandfather and all them, they ate cake, enchiladas, steaks constantly, and they had small waistlines till they got to be about 60. Well, my other grandfather was always skinny. They ate a lot worse stuff than we eat today, technically. It's just calories. The difference is that the soils weren't totally played out, A, but more importantly, there weren't all the additives, B, but most importantly, and this is key, is that they weren't eating GMO. That's what's going on. That's what's going on. Now, look, I've gone on a big tangent about children. I could open the phones up. I'm going to do this sometime next week for an hour or two with CPS stories. And again, all I hear on the news is how they hung the moon, they saved the earth, what great people they are. Raise money for the CPS. Out of the next breath, raise money for the Planned Parenthood. And they love you too. They love kids. That's why they want them dead. And, oh, man, and we confronted them. I made a big deal out of this, again, in about 2005, so people looked at it in Texas again. Kind of like I kept saying, here's documents. There's radioactive isotopes in most of the so-called sodium fluoride from these mining deposits where they mine the phosphates for fertilizer. And they just leave it in, so it's going on your food, but they take the really toxic stuff and put it in your water. And then I have medical doctors and scientists and toxicologists, professors on breaking it down and show you government studies. Local news people, it's now happened in a bunch of states actually, they go out with Geiger counters with a radiation expert, and they go, yeah, this is 25 times, 60-something times, depending on where it was. Right outside Austin, a bunch of the towns, they were like, this is off the charts radiation. And the cities go, must be in the aquifer. And they go out and do a well test. No, it's not in the aquifer. It's coming out of the city water system. Oh, where they've been dumping, for decades this stuff in. Again, the reality is so over the top. If you just go look up lethal chemical, biological, radiological testing on U.S. troops, thousands of government documents and articles over the last 60 years. Again, premeditated murder of troops. And now it's little kids. And then you get these non-caring, dumbed-down, almost always come from a history of broken homes, welfare, institutions. They take institutionalized, broken, mind-scrambled on Prozac crazies who literally think families are bad or are pedophiles, and they turn them loose, and they're demon creatures, and they're out there grabbing people's kids. I mean, that's what's happening. That's not me putting a spin on it. That's what it is, okay? And it just shows how bad it's gotten. Of course they're saying they've got re-education camps now. Of course they're saying they'll secretly arrest us now. Of course they're saying all the major street lights are going to have microphones in them, and we're watching you, and 30,000 drones in the skies of America. If you studied the decline of Rome, if you just studied every other culture, it ends in this. The type of people that get power and hold power get more and more degenerate until they're saying, firstborn, we're sending soldiers by next Friday night to kill your firstborn. Anyone that resists, almost every culture did this, he will be dead. That the underclasses have too many sons, and we're afraid there'll be an uprising. Your firstborn under the age of 10 will be killed. It varied culture to culture. You didn't know about this? Every other chapter in the Bible, which they've checked with the other histories, is very accurate. In the Old Testament is the Romans. Before that, the Egyptians were coming to kill your firstborn. And people delivered their sons out, and here they come with that sword. All right. Well, now they just kill our sons' minds. What is over 20 times the autism in boys and girls? It's tailored for boys. The soft kill chemicals. They admit they're targeting boys. That's in the government document. Charlotte Iserby's broken that down. They just kill your son's mind now. They kill your daughter's fertility. They make her go into fertility when she's, 6 years old instead of 14. She's 30 years old. She has the breast of an 80-year-old woman and gets breast cancer and dies. Mammals already got their rare cancers previously, almost always in hormone tissues, because those are tissues. Humans are hot-blooded, folks. Mammals are hot-blooded. We're not like a shark. Sharks don't get cancer. They've been doing studies for decades. You can't give sharks cancer because they don't have hormones. They have a completely different system. Hormones supercharge us. Hot-blooded, check it and see. Got a fever of 103. We're hot-blooded. We're hot-blooded. And it's those hormone tissues that are doing those exchanges that break down DNA quicker. You supercharge that with a bunch of toxins and dioxins and bisphenols and endocrine mimickers and estrogen mimickers. You want to know why breast cancer, depending on which study you look at, is between 2,000 and 3,000% increased? You want to know? I'll tell you why. Because it was all done on purpose. Most of you listening, your daddy, your mommy who died young, that's a little globalist gift out of the Rockefeller Foundation documents on Infowars.com. You had a child, you got pediatric cancer. You might want to look up the fact that 50 years ago, they would get on airplanes and trains and travel 2,000 miles to see a child with pediatric cancer of any type. Now I can walk down to the mall today, and I guarantee you I can find children with cancer right now at the shopping mall. And I'm angry. I don't care if they kill me. I don't care if they arrest me and set me up for something. I could care less about anything now but just getting the word out. And that's all of this show is an emergency beacon. In fact, can you dig up the Klingon beacon again? We're under Klingon attack. I mean, that's what it is. I'm just here going, Mayday, 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 under sustained attack. Humankind is under red level attack, red level attack. Here's the evidence. Emergency, 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 emergency. And the cops are too busy in their gang mentality, dressed up in their little outfits, kissing up to the captain when he shows up so they can get promoted and all this to even do anything. And the general yuppies are 10 times worse than the cops. They could just care less and are running around having a good time, laughing and everything. Everything's funny. That's it. That's it. This is basically what's going on in my head all the time. And I guess I'm the bad guy. I am really the bad guy. I am the bad guy. If I teleported back to the Aztec kingdom 1,000 years ago at its height, and I could speak Mayan, and I walked up, say, in the big temples that are in Mexico City today, and I walked up to the big Great Pyramid there, and I walked up to the high priest who takes hallucinogens every day and is out of his mind, and is tuned into the dark side, and I could say in my end, please don't sacrifice every morning 10 children. And the first thing he'd say was, well, we have, this is what the gods demand. The sun came up. We got to kill more when the sun goes down. Plus, we make our money. It's how the priest class goes out and tattles and keeps everybody paranoid, manipulates everybody with superstition. He wouldn't know that. He believes it. On his power trip with his teeth, filed, pointed, he'd say that's how we make our money. They made their money selling the long hams down at the bottom of the pyramid was the meat selling area. And the children is the most succulent meat. I mean, that's why the gods wanted children, because it was the more tasty meat. The gods get the heart, though. Nobody gets that. But you get the rest. And I would be a crazy man if you would be crazy. If you saw him chopping some little kid's heart out, they'd say, everybody here thinks it's good. And they'd all look at you and go, yeah, it's good. It's good to have open borders. It's good to torture people. It's good to have a world government. It's good to have a Federal Reserve. It's good to have the CPS, outside due process, run by a bunch of perverts and crooks and mercenaries, grabbing kids, drugging them, killing them. It's good. And so I am crazy. I am bad. I am bad. I am. I went back to the Romans 1,800 years ago during just their squalor, degeneration. And I said, you need to stop throwing men, women, and children in. By the end, the Romans were tired of just seeing gladiators killed. They like seeing little kids get killed. So you always degenerate. First, it's men. You make fights. It's kids later. They'd already exhausted all the local animals and couldn't afford to ship them in from Africa anymore, the giraffes and elephants and everything else. So those little kids, they started killing little kids in the arena, too. They liked that a lot. I guess that'd be more like 1,900 years ago. Right, yeah. And if you went back and said, if you could speak Latin, Roman, and you said, this is really wrong what you're doing. By the way, your society is getting ready to collapse. This won't be here soon. They look at you and say, you know what, buddy? Chain him up and throw him in the arena. It's the same thing. All the yuppies, all the trendies, they got it all figured out, man. Listen to this crazy guy saying they're putting stuff in our food and water. Oh, here's the documents. I don't want to look at that, kook. You know what? I don't want to look at that. Okay, good. Good. You don't want to look at it. Go ahead. Go ahead then. Fine. But don't say you weren't warned, because I figured out that's why I'm here and that's why others are here, so that those that have ears to hear and eyes to see will understand and get the message. And those of you that don't, well, you just, I guess, weren't meant to get it. We had an exciting headline: House approves amendment to limit Pentagon drone spying on Americans. And now it's been updated at Drudge Report. He's linked to Fox. So our story's gone because it's been updated. And, House shoots down anti-drone amendment. Yeah, folks tried to keep the Pentagon from illegally watching us with our own money with 30,000 drones just to intimidate us and weaponize the airspace over the U.S. and harass people with all the new environmental takeover plans they've admitted they're going to use. But that got shot down. Oh, I'm sorry. Drudge had linked to our article about the mid-air collision, or the near mid-air collision that happened yesterday. So first they approved it, now they've shot it down. We need to update Steve Watson's article. But I'm going to tell you right now, the technocracy will be developed. It will collapse. And the globalists are going to go they're going to go ahead with their next phase of their plans. And sorry for everybody. Sorry for you. But we lied to ourselves and said that 52 million aborted babies weren't babies, so why not kill them up to age 3 like they're saying they should do now? Why not kill Granny? She's not a person either. The government decides. Why not have the biggest prison population in the world? Why not? Why not grab foster children and test pesticides and HIV, blood doping drugs on them until they die, even when they don't even have HIV? Why not? In fact, don't even go look it up. I know most of you won't. You'll just say, oh, it can't be true, yeah. Let's go ahead and finish part of that newscast, though. If you're not watching at prisonplanet.tv, go to InfoWars and watch the video. She's happy, healthy beforehand. You see her 2 months later, total concentration camp victim, rotten teeth, eyes sunk in, not eating, tongue hanging out. And CPS lied to the court and said, we're not drugging them, but later it came out they were with hardcore antipsychotics because the 3-year-old was crying. She's 4 now. They're trying to take her again right now. Let's go ahead and finish up part of that newscast out of Houston.
News. Out with friends, you know, holidays, an occasion. Never did it with Rachel around.
Last July, CPS took custody of Rachel.
Well, at first, we didn't see her for 3 or 4 months. They refused visitations.
When they finally got supervised visits with Rachel, family members say they couldn't believe their eyes. You might not either. Check this out. Here's a picture of Rachel that was taken 1 week before CPS took custody of her. Here she is in January, after 6 months in CPS's care.
When I was seeing her in foster care, it was killing me.
Every time we'd go to see her at visitation,
She was skinnier.
she would get skinny and she'd, you know, just be lethargic, not wanting to move, not wanting to say hi, and just sort of sit in the corner and just keep to herself.
Not even play.
And that's not her.
She would be drooling at the mouth. Her tongue would be hanging out. She couldn't focus. It was terrible. And I asked them, I said, is she on drugs? They said no.
But in a January court hearing, CPS admitted that the then 3-year-old was put on a number of psychotropic drugs, including risperidone, a drug commonly used to treat schizophrenia.
They take her away from you because they say you are doing drugs. Then they take a 3-year-old and they put her on drugs.
Yes.
Stop right there.
What do you think about that?
These parents, and I want to get them on the show, better stop having this yuppie, trendy attitude that so many trashy country people think. We just recreationally do cocaine every once in a while. You got predators that want to ruin your life, idiots. They already took her once because you smoked marijuana. You understand that? Don't give them any excuses. It's your fault that you let these predators get at your child. And you obviously still think it's okay what you did. You should have gotten off the marijuana and gotten out of the area. I'd like to punch that father right in the nose. I'll tell you right now, punk, you make me sick. But because you don't understand what you're facing. America doesn't understand what they're facing. But the scumbags do. They'll kill your daughter. They kill people all the time, WOAI investigation showed. They'll put her on so many drugs, they will kill her. They will kill your daughter. While you're sitting there going, we just did it recreationally. You don't give the enemy any excuse. You live an absolutely upright life or they will kill your children. Go out to break with the big fat social workers. Then we're going to come back with Johnny Cash. He's got a message to all of you that are involved in this. Here it is.
No 3-year-old needs to be put on psychotropic drugs. None of them are psychotic.
According to court transcripts, there seems to be a question as to which CPS contracted doctor prescribed all the medications and why. Caseworkers have testified they had to place Rachel in various foster homes because she would act up. She acted up, her parents say, because she wanted to be home with them.
The only way to control her at that time is to dope her up.
Because they kidnapped her. And that's what they do. That's why they do it. When you cry for mommy, they hit you with 1 drug. And on average, 7. They want to cripple them to get the extra money. And they kill them. They murder your children. They want to murder you and your family, okay? These are pure demons. God, I pray that you punish them now. All right, I'm going to do 20 minutes on the whole Obama birth certificate thing in the next hour, and then we're going to have our guest on. Jon Rappoport on some big medical news. But I also imagine people probably want to comment about the Obama birth certificate situation now that we learned his literary agent, his publicist for 16 and a half years, 91 to 2007, put out that he was born in Kenya and then lived in Indonesia and Hawaii. And that's what all his friends and people keep saying. He had other names, at least 2 other names. They won't release high school, college, none of it. His wife says in all these videos he was born in Kenya. Just like everything else, it's all just over the top. And I see some people saying, well, why does it matter if he was born in Kenya? Because it's unconstitutional, just like everything else. It's illegal. And it means he can be blackmailed with that now. He's run by the Clintons. So even if Obama was a good guy, which he's not, he couldn't because he's totally blackmailed. That's why it's important. It's called being compromised. You know, in the old days, you couldn't be a spy if you had money troubles or if your dad was in prison, because maybe they could use that to get to you. Nowadays, they want people that are compromised. This is a nation of compromised people. Finish up the newscast with the girl. If you saw the photos, folks, the concentration camp victim, look. And this is what they do. It's standard. I cleaned carpets for a summer, and this was 20 years ago. And I didn't know what they were at the time. Then I would ask, what is this? And they go, this is a foster home. And it was like zombie, not kids looking this bad, concentration camp, but living on dirty mattresses and whatever. And then there'd always be some fat Nelly man running around with little girls and boys. And I was just like, ugh, what is this? Now that I'm older and can look back at that, I know what it was. It was pervert palaces with kidnapped kids. I mean, it's hell on earth, man. And all you do-gooders, oh, we're taking children. Oh, I saw my neighbor spank them. I'm going to call on them. I'm good. I'm with, oh, I saw something. Or mean neighbors that don't like you do it. They do it to media people all the time. And then these crazy, bizarre women show up, or a Nelly man who can't hardly talk. And he'll see a dog hair on the ground, and the judge will say, it's an unsafe home, and then throw them into these dungeons. CPS is always getting caught locking kids up in cages and then not feeding them because they want the maximum money. And that's if the kids are lucky. If they just are dungeon keepers who want the money, you get abused, other kids beat you up, rape you, you get diseases. But if you're unlucky, you get in a pedo op. And of course, they can't enforce against them, because, you know, they don't want to bring out what they're doing. And, you know, it comes out here and there. I mean, they admit you're 7 times more likely in CPS care to be raped and get an STD. And it's just these dungeons. It's dungeons locked up in basements. And the pedos get there, and it's time to have fun. Kids are locked up. Pedo gets back. Pedo brings friends over. Texas Youth Commission, they had public pedo parties. Nobody got in trouble for that. State police tried to do something. They just fired the director. And they put directors in there that'll keep the Texas Rangers on a short leash, and the rape rooms continue. And that's just America. That's what America is. I'm going to show you the self-propelled stomachs tonight, but roll us out to break with this, and I'm going to come back.
Most judges seem to just rubber stamp the wishes of CPS. Associate Judge Stephen Newhouse is the complete opposite. We were in the courtroom for 2 recent hearings, and the judge didn't even try to hide his frustration. In one hearing, the judge said, quote, there's no evidence the child had any behavioral issues before CPS came into her life.
We'll be back. See, that they're whitewashing it. Oh, it's good to drug some kids. All right, coming up in the next segment, I'll give you my detailed analysis of the Barack Obama bombshell. Then Jon Rappoport's joining us via video Skype. Finishing up, you know, we tend to focus on the CPS abusing our 4th Amendment, our 10th Amendment, now on the highways, destroying our liberty as the shock potbelly force of the New World Order. Along with their CPS auxiliary potbelly demon force. But who gives them the orders? Who set up this global standardized system? Who sets up the CPS? Who does this worldwide? That's the real enemies. That's the hardcore globalists that did this to break up society, to break down families, to bring in this tyranny. They know what they're doing. They're fully conscious of it. So nobody's going to warn you that if you go in to get your appendix taken out or get a hernia fixed, and there's been confirmed cases where the people weren't even pot smokers and it was a false positive, which happens, they say, about 20% of the time. There's no discussion. The family court orders your children taken. And almost all of them, over 2/3, are put on deadly, hardcore antipsychotics, not just psychotropics, that actually attack the liver, the brain, everything. And a lot of times it's going to be bye-bye Bluebird. And when your kid gets put in a box, it's a victory for them. And they feel good about it because they take absolute brain damage scum in most of the cases who just want big fat bonuses because they're big fat demons. And they just could care less. It's victory after victory after victory after victory after victory against humanity. And you just need to be aware of it. And all of you that claim you're fighting for the children and you know, you jog in the breast cancer jogging thing for the cure. How about jog for the cause? How about you realize it's all by design? How about you stand up for the children themselves? How about all of you start doing something, not just say, oh, Alex Jones talks about it. How about you understand our whole society is going to collapse if we don't stand up together against this? Let's go to the conclusion of the Fox newscast out of Houston. Here it is.
In one hearing, the judge said, quote, there's no evidence the child had any behavioral issues before CPS came into her life.
Again, you cry in any way, they drug you. So I guess it only is about that less than 1/3 of really abused kids that don't care to be gone and in some dungeon because it's better than where they were. But with the others, they want mommy that night. And potbelly pedophile wants to shut you up so they can have their way with you. You're going to go on an antipsychotic with your tongue hanging out. Oh, but he's the good judge. He says, well, she was good before. That's pure evil. These drugs shouldn't be given to children or anybody. Go back to it.
As CPS takes her, now she needs help. In the hearings we attended, CPS suddenly changed caseworkers.
So no caseworker knows what the other caseworker's doing.
Whenever the judge would ask caseworkers...
Good pause. You see the case workers? They always got that look on their face. I've been in these family court things covering it. That's why I can't go back. The judge gets off on the crying. It's like when Darth Vader finds out Padme's been killed, super cheesy, and he goes, and gets sad. You see the Emperor smiling behind him. They've done their research. That's what's going on with Judge Jean Muir in Austin. That's what goes on with the CPS workers. And, man, when you see their eyes light up like demons and they get this little smile with their teeth showing, I mean, it's just like, I go out and cry. I mean, it is like hardcore. I mean, it's like Emperor Palpatine up there behind the judge's deal here in Austin. And they love it. I mean, they love the crying, and they're just like feeding. I've played judges before. You've seen the clips we played where they actually put family court on there. I'm going to take the child. Yes, that's what I'm going to do since you guys are arguing about this divorce. Just arguing. And everybody starts crying. You see the judge go, that's what I'm going to do. And then you see the bailiffs smiling. They're all, we're powerful. We're powerful. I'm sorry. Let's go out to break with the rest of the demons. Here it is.
So no caseworker knows what the other caseworker's doing.
Whenever the judge would ask caseworkers specific questions, he would get the same response, such as, I'm new to the case, or I don't have access to the file.
That's enough. Yeah, they play dumb. It's not even a real judge. It's a family court, eugenics court. It's all lies. It's lies stacked on top of lies. Okay? Unbelievable. Aaron Dykes did a big report last night on all the evidence that Facebook's a big pump and dump. And the media is saying, oh, can the little CIA agent, they're admittedly CIA, movie star presidents and people at Facebook, can they save the markets? And there was trading problems and it plunged and then it shot back up and it's so great that they're there and they're going to make $100 billion. It's all just total theater to make you think the stock market's real. It's a giant Ponzi scheme scam as well. The stock market's actually way down. It's really at about 6,000, 2,000 levels. But you see, it says it's way up where it's at because it's devalued dollars. It's inflation. Ford F-150 cost $10,000. I don't know, 20 years ago. What's a plain Jane one today? $25,000. Some of them are $60,000, $65,000. Fully loaded was $30,000 10, 15 years ago. It's inflation. This is the type of garbage we see out there. All the feds first announced your toilets, your light bulbs, your house, your smart meter. Now a fat tax. It's all happening. And hey, if they say you hadn't paid your taxes, you're not leaving the country. Your taxes is the Federal Reserve. Congress was moving in the House to block the unlimited spy drones of the Pentagon, but that got struck down, that amendment. Now, I spent some time at the start of the broadcast on this, but I'll do some more now. And most shows are only talking about this today. But I wanted to focus on something just because it hit me again, like being punched in the breadbasket. Just to know that they take foster children and put them on an average of 7 psychotropic drugs, 2/3 of them. And they kill a lot of them, and they test pesticides on them, and they give them shots of HIV to see what it'll do to them. I mean, I told the guys, put a report together for the nightly news tonight. And I said, look, dude, we got to focus on some of the other stuff, too. I don't want to be behind tonight. I want to get the show on time. Because the guys are great, but they always want to do too much for our small crew. We're trying to get more people in here. And he said, oh, I got like 40 articles. It's worse than you said. And I go, well, of course it's worse than I said on air. There's no way to say how bad this is. He's in there for like an hour and a half just going, my gosh, they're testing radiologicals on little kids. Yes, they murder them. I'm going to say it again. They take people's children and they murder them. They take people's children and they murder them. Murder, murder, like kill. Little children cry for mommy. They begin drugging him. Little children cry for mommy. They tie him down and pour pesticides down their throat. I mean, go read, go look. This is your government. Because it's not a government. It's a bunch of unaccountable psycho crooks with eugenicists running it and teaching them to hate humanity. And Bill Gates has teachers laughing and giggling and clapping when he says, we're not going to give grandma end-of-life treatment in the last year, and you're going to get 10 jobs. And they started clapping. They're like, ooh, it's the power of being let in on the killing. And it's an army of wimps. But we sit there and they go, we're the authorities, so we bow to them. We go, okay, kill our kids, kill our troops, let them breathe through you, do testing on them. This is the essence of the New World Order. And the CPS kids they don't fully destroy, who turn into, quote, mental patients from all the drugs they give them, they become the bureaucrats. Most of the CPS workers are people raped in CPS care, and that they want to go back to what they grew up in. Or they grew up in the inner cities on welfare, and they recruit poor women, predominantly black women. I mean, that's statistically, I think something like half the CPS workers are black women. And that's their army, their force legion. And they feed on blacks, they feed on whites, they feed on all indiscriminately with pleasure. And usually they can't even walk through your door, but they got cops behind them. And if those cops won't do it, they call in a special brigade of police every major city has, because this is big money. So I've now done probably 2 hours on this. I'm going to stop. But we are going to have a very special nightly news tonight. Very special. We're trying to compress the video of something really special. I hope it makes it on the show tonight. We had too many cooks spoil the broth, but it's some of the best video we've ever put together. It's something that's going to be pretty amazing. So that's 7 o'clock tonight, Central, prisonplanet.tv. There's a 15-day free trial, and your memberships fund what we do here. So, and make us strong so we can defend ourselves against these slings and arrows of the enemy. All right. Let me just read to you from Paul Watson's article on this. Evidence, Obama born in Kenya, goes beyond 1991 brochure. Establishment media pulls stunt in effort to diffuse birther controversy. Yeah, they're trying to say this was just 91. It was 91 to 2007 in literally hundreds of publications we've now learned from the PR firm he still uses today. And we have his wife saying he was born in Kenya as well on video. But that was just a mistake too. And the records cut out in Kenya on record. That's confirmed. We have links to that. That was an accident too. And the AP saying he was born in Kenya years ago, that's a mistake too. And the fact that his dad was supposedly from there, that's a mistake too. Or that he had all these fake names they now admit, like Barry Soetoro, that's true too. But, or he was never a Muslim at a mosque, but that's been confirmed. But just, you know what? Don't ask questions from known liars. He was going to veto the NDAA, but turns out he demanded it and signed it. Everything's fine. He wasn't going to hire lobbyists, hired more than anybody. He wasn't going to have signing statements broken Bush's record. He was going to have the most transparent. He's the most untransparent. He was going to protect whistleblowers. Totally blew that away. He wasn't going to take money from the bankers. He's broken all the records. He was going to stop guns being shipped into Mexico. He was the one doing it. On and on and on. Lies, 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 lies. Lies, 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 lies. Now, can we come back in the next break with ministry, lies? We're on a mission. And we'll go out with it then. So see, I see something like this, and I went and checked it, and I went to archive.org myself, started finding other ones. It's like all his PR firm, his spokesman, publicists, literary agents, all books about he's in with it. I mean, he's born in Kenya. Born in Kenya. And what's the issue? He's blackmailed. He's compromised. That was the whole point of it. Because a lie that big now, all the laws he signed are illegitimate, so the whole system's going to defend that lie, and then another precedent set. It's all about dragging us through the mud, breaking our will, letting the TSA grope our families. Don't you see what's happening? Obama marching into Congress and saying, I don't need you for wars. I got the UN. Treason. Man, it's incredible. It's all up at Infowars.com. The establishment media hastily seized on yesterday's explosive story about literary publication listing Barack Obama's birthplace as Kenya in an effort to claim the 91 brochure was an origin of the entire birther issue. In reality, evidence that Obama was born in Africa country is abundant. Yeah, his wife kept saying in speeches till she knew he was going to run for president that he was born in Kenya. I don't think they ever really believed it. A literary agent's promotional text from 91 brochure released yesterday by Breitbart.com states Obama was born in Kenya and raised in Indonesia and Hawaii. Yahoo News, along with the deluge of mainstream media outlets, that's enemy collaborators, propaganda Tokyo Rose enemies, responded by reporting that the document was potentially the source of the birther controversy and had merely been a mistake. Literary agent who wrote, it was the source but never been discovered. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. The literary agent who wrote the description now works for Driscoll and Goodrich, that's Miriam Goodrich, agency, which lists Obama as one of their clients. Unsurprising, therefore, is that Goodrich hastily claimed within hours listing Obama's birthplace as Kenya was nothing more than a fact-checking error. Is that why the records were cut out? That's confirmed by the State Department, cut out in Kenya. Folks, that means he was born there. You don't cut out records that weren't there. However, evidence to indicate that Obama was born in Kenya is plentiful, and it goes significantly beyond the 91 version of the brochure. Despite claiming that the passage about Obama's birthplace being Kenya was a mistake, the listing still maintained that Obama's birthplace was Kenya until Obama became a U.S. Senator. Goodrich's statement fails to explain why the fact-checking error presented for 16 years through at least 13 different versions of the website and publications and literary promotions sent out by them. That'd be like if my bio on Infowars.com for 16 years said I was born in Russia. I was born in Dallas. Let me continue here. Despite claiming the passages about his birthplace being Kenya was a mistake, the listing still maintained that Obama's birthplace was Kenya until after Obama became a U.S. Senator. Goodrich's statement fails to explain why the fact-checking error persisted in big publications, by the way. I mean, we're talking about Harvard, publications and things. Persisted for 16 years through at least 3 different versions of Jane Driscoll's website and through at least 4 versions of Obama's biography, reports Breitbart.com. The literary agency also updated the text of the 98, but the part about Obama being born in Kenya was retained. You hear that? I mean, ladies and gentlemen, and it just goes on for page after page with video clips of her saying he was born in Kenya. We went back to his homeland of Kenya. Oh yeah, when we go to his homeland where he's from, Kenya, his grandma was like, yeah, he comes from there. He was born in the village right there. By the way, I don't think it's that guy they say looks nothing like him. Somebody else. And of course, the State Department, it turned out, said he was using, his dad was probably not his dad and kicked him out of the country. And then, of course, he has a dead woman's Social Security number from Connecticut. I mean, keep going here. The problem is, did I tell you about the birth certificate where it was fake typewriter, computer font? We even know the name of the font because each typewriter splats like a snowflake or a raindrop on how hard you hit the key, how the ribbon is set, how it hits. Everyone's a different, like a fingerprint. And it was the A's, the C's, the I's, all of them are identical. It's fake. 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 Okay? We're not in Kansas anymore. And only admitting that is going to turn things around. Do you understand that? We're in a lot of trouble here. The government's been compromised not by the Ruskies or the Chi-Coms, but by the bankers. They took over. All right, I apologize to Jon Rappoport. Getting him on a little bit late today. I told him to get him on 30 minutes. We got so much going on. They told him an hour, but he was still able to come on. Investigative journalist. I'm a little bit angry right now at the New World Order. Jon Rappoport's a graduate of Amherst College with a BA in philosophy. He's worked at LA Weekly, national TV. Man, if I go over his bio, we'll never get it done here. His news site is nomorefakenews.com. And again, he's been recommended for the Pulitzer Prize, stuff like that. and he joins us right now where I'm having a meltdown over all the lies. It's really starting to get to me. He's got some big announcements. You've seen private groups estimate hundreds of thousands are killed a year in hospitals and by drugs, and it's one of the most dangerous places to be. We all know that. But he's gone and actually found that they've now admitted on government websites, and he is here to break down this big breaking news with us today. Of course, you also go to the hospital, they spy on you, and if they say you have marijuana in your blood, they'll take your children from you. So be aware of that. These are actual brainwashing prisons. Jon Rappoport, good to have you on with us.
Hey, great to be here, Alex. Yeah, big breaking story. This is 10 years in the making. 100,000 people killed every year by FDA-approved medical drugs. That's 1 million people a decade. That's called murder, in case anybody has any doubt about it. 2 million severe adverse drug reactions every year in the United States. That's 20 million over every decade. We're talking about stroke, heart attack, neurological damage. The studies are there. I've been writing about this, talking about it for 10 years. I said there was a smoking gun. I knew there was. And 2 days ago, I got the tip. I went to the page on the FDA website. You guys have the page now in a screenshot. The FDA cites those figures on their own website. 100,000 deaths every year caused by medical drugs, 2 million severe adverse reactions. Fourth leading cause of death in the United States, actually it's the third, behind cancer and heart attacks. And there it is on their own website in stark terms. They probably don't even know the page is still there, but it's there, it's captured for all to see, and yet at the same time, at the same moment, they assume no responsibility or accountability for it. It's like they're talking about something that's happening on the moon. Because they're the agency, the only agency in America that can certify a drug as safe and effective, and thereby it gets into the marketplace. Without them saying it's safe, it never would be there. And yet here they are on their own website admitting that the drugs that they call safe are killing genocidally 100,000 people a year.
And by the way, that's a conservative number that they're using. I've seen numbers from different think tanks where it's something like 250,000+ from just bad procedures and infections. And then the number I've seen is over 150,000 just from prescription drugs.
Yeah, there are higher figures, no question about it. Conservative estimate is 225,000 people killed by the medical system every year. The other 120,000 would be from what happens in hospitals.
Hey, I had surgery on my leg to put a pin in it when I was 16. And right as the anesthesiologist comes over and starts doing it, the guy was bombed out of his mind, obviously taking his own sauce. They say about half of them do. I woke up a bunch on the table. I mean, they had like doctors come by and say, well, we tested your blood. You're not on any drugs. You've got an incredible liver. It took 9 times the amount to keep me under. I was like attacking people. This is a true story. Like, they had to strap me down because every time they started sawing into my bone, I woke up. And then at night, my IV fell out. Blood was everywhere. I mean, I've been in the hospital 1 time. Well, I was in there a couple other times, I guess, with concussions, and barely made it out. That was in Rowlett. We'll be right back. Stay there. The reports, Obama stillborn in Kenya in 2007. Literary references show description in promotion of Dreams of My Father book. Right up into the election. Man, you talk about arrogant. Unbelievable. We're going to try to get Dr. Corsi on this Sunday. I'll be live this Sunday, 4 to 6 p.m. Central. Jon Rappoport, who's done a great job sitting in as a co-host or fill-in host. He's done a wonderful job. Look forward to having him back soon to do that. And I enjoyed hearing him a few months ago when Mike Adams sat in on the Sunday show. Really powerful radio. Now, going back to Jon Rappoport, if you go to his website, nomorefakenews.com, right at the top, it says, hiding in plain view, FDA murder. And we're going to post it at Infowars.com right now as well to mirror it because it's so important. I'm going to add the flourish if it's all right with him. Or Google gets us with link farm stuff, so I always change the headline a little bit, little inside baseball there. Hidden in plain view, FDA murder of 100,000 a year. That's going to be the InfoWars headline. If I can do that, I'll just ask permission here on air. How's that sound, Jon?
Absolutely, go for it.
Okay, buddy, you've got the floor. Break down the fact of how they've tried to suppress this. Why do you think suddenly they're having to admit it as the fourth cause of death, as you said, really the third cause of death in the U.S.? This is just, and of course, they say that, 1 out of 10 adverse reactions gets reported. That's conservative. Some say it's more like 1 out of 100. So it must be even much worse than that, because hospitals are predisposed to cover up what they're doing.
You're absolutely right. The real figure is more like 22 million severe adverse reactions to drugs every year in the United States. So take, 22 million over a 10-year period, that's 220 million. That means the whole country is under the gun of these people. And they've been hiding these facts for at least 10 years or more. They're not readily admitting to them now, except they've blown the whistle on themselves because we found the web page where they state the facts, the FDA. It's right there, so they can't deny it anymore, and it's even got medical study citations there to back it up. So they're going to be very embarrassed by this. I mean, if you were killing 100,000 people a year by something that you manufactured and you knew about it for at least 10 years, you can't call that anything except first-degree murder.
Oh, like Bayer knowingly in over 100 companies for 11 years shipping out Factor 8 they knew had HIV and hepatitis in it and killing tens of thousands and their own execs laughing about it like that?
Exactly. Exactly. You see, this isn't accident. It isn't incompetence. It isn't even negligent homicide. It's first-degree murder. That's what it is. Now, there's the Justice Department sitting right down the street from the FDA, okay? 100,000 people dying of medical drugs every year. That's 33 plane crashes into the world towers every year like clockwork, every single year. Now, from one of those crashes, we spent hundreds of billions into the trillions going to war, doing everything that Alex has been documenting all these years. All the Department of Justice has to do is get in a few cars, drive down the street to the FDA building, and say, you're all under arrest for first-degree murder.
Well, they admit almost everybody there is a Monsanto or Big Pharma or Big Banker exec. It's a revolving door. It's a total joke.
Exactly. It's a total joke. The amount of collusion involved here is just, staggering. Because they know about it. They know what's happening. They absolutely know that the drugs are killing people. In fact, now you want to look at the implications, and this is in my article. Marcia Angel, who was for many years the editor of the New England Journal of Medicine and finally quit. I've got her quote there, and she basically says, I can no longer trust any published studies in medical journals, period. Period. Because look, in order for these drugs to be approved for public use, the pharmaceutical companies that are making them are lying through their teeth over and over again in their clinical trials of the drugs that claim the drugs are safe. And in the published studies that are printed in the medical journals, they're all fraudulent. They're completely lying.
This is huge.
All the time.
And Monsanto, back in the 70s, as you know, was Searle then, and they bought Searle. 3 times tried to get aspartame approved, and they couldn't. So they had Rumsfeld take over as the CEO, change the document, and say that because 20% of the monkeys lived eating aspartame, the babies having it put in their milk, it was okay. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, they feed us a chemical weapon that is causing much of the neurological disorders on record, and now it's in all the sugar gums and most of the candies. They're attacking us. And it's in the Associated Press and other publications. When I heard this months ago, I didn't believe it. Turns out for 12 years, it's been in a bunch of news that the Monsanto engineers, genetic engineers, demanded that no GMO be in their cafeterias at their facilities. I mean, folks, this is off the charts, the level of assault. And now break down why you think they're now admitting this and hiding it in plain view. I guess it's like the devil's got to tell you in the fine print what he's doing. Why do you think they're doing this? You have to make a guesstimation, I know. And then B, because I know you're an expert on this, John, over everything you do. Going back, working for national TV, was it ABC, you name it, all the investigative journalism you've done, Tell us why they're doing this, because I know it's about eugenics, but now they're saying, hey, radiation's fine from DU. Hey, radiation from Fukushima, hundreds of times safe levels, hitting the West Coast, it's safe. People's hair falling out in Alaska where the waters are hitting, the marine life dying, the seals dying, the air traffic controllers, hair falling out, stewardesses' hair falling out. I mean, now we're at a breakdown point is what I'm saying, where it's just like radiation's good, death's good, toxin's good, but pay Al Gore money for carbon dioxide plants breathe. I mean, it just seems like the elite themselves have gone completely nuts. Completely nuts. Absolutely. You know, I think what happened is that some FDA employee who felt conscience-stricken about this whole thing decided that he was going to use the FDA website to show the truth. And he did. And it escaped their attention. And who knows how long this page has actually been hanging there. I mean, it's hanging by a thread as we speak because of the coverage that you've got, Alex. They could be taking this page down right away. And you have links in your article that are at nomorefakenews.com and now at Infowars.com. Let's put that back on screen, the actual document from the FDA website, guys. Please continue, John. I'm ranting. Yeah, no problem. All right, so somebody there decided they were going to blow the whistle and escaped everybody's attention. But now what's happening is, I mean, this is chemical warfare against the people. This is, you know, just like you've got canisters of stuff that you're spraying in the street, except that doctors are prescribing it, and people consider doctors to be the high priests of the new religion, you know, and so they take the prescription pad and they take the drugs and they die, and then everybody says, what happened? And the doctor says, had nothing to do with me. It's a disease they had. That's what, you know, et cetera, et cetera. They lie, 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 lie. All right, now it's all coming out in the open. For example, take one illustration, Vioxx, which we all know about. Vioxx was supposedly killing, let's say, 50,000 people in the United States because of heart attacks and strokes. The FDA said it was safe. That's why it got on the market. However, between 1999 and 2004, when the drug was on the market, we saw the biggest spike in the death rate in the United States seen in years. And when it was withdrawn in 2004, no longer on the market, that spike was gone. And if you make up the difference there and look at what the numbers are of this drug, the effects of Vioxx, manufactured by Merck, we could very well be looking at 500,000 deaths in America from that one drug over a 5-year period. The Merck people knew all about it. They knew about it up front. They had a list of doctors they said needed to be, quote, neutralized because the doctors wanted to speak out about it. There was an internal email from a Merck employee that said, quote, we may need to seek them out, meaning these doctors or their enemies, and destroy them where they live so they could get this drug on the market and keep it there. One drug, 500,000 people dead in 5 years. The media sit there on their hands and they say and they do nothing. And by the way, the head of the Vioxx, the guy that was the head at the time, he's just been promoted to a super powerful position, and they put all these guys in the government. That's right. That's where they all end up. And then they stay there for a while and they get sanitized. Their cover stories get sanitized. They go back through the revolving door, back into the pharmaceutical industry where they rake in millions of more dollars, and nobody ever does anything to them. I mean, this is murder. The heads of these drug companies, the employees of the FDA that are responsible for this, no one in the last 10 years have I ever encountered that has ever been censured, fired, or prosecuted for mass murder. No, if you pull a tooth wrong, if you pull a tooth wrong, they can, you know, take you to court civilly or maybe even criminally. But if you kill somebody with drugs or vaccines, the whole system comes in and defends you, and they even use taxpayer money to quietly pay out the lawsuits. Now, let me raise this. Nationally, 69%, you can look at this number from the FDA, 69% of foster children are on an average of 7 psychotropics, including antipsychotics. And I played clips earlier how they grab a 3-year-old from her parents for no reason, and then the judge even saw, a rare judge, that she'd lost a lot of weight and was about to die, and they'd put her on a bunch of drugs, antipsychotics, because she was crying for mommy. That's mentally ill. They're now putting 2-year-olds on these when they cry. That's right. They take your 2-year-old folks, they drug them. They just drug them and warehouse them if they don't feel like raping them, which a lot of them do. There's a bunch of pedophiles. Who do you think wants that job? And they openly are there drugging them. I mean, these drugs have horrible effects on children. They've now got
Brain damage, Alex. That's what it is. It's motor brain damage. The antipsychotics, like Risperdal, Clonidine, these are the 2 drugs that they put that little girl on. This is brain damage drug. That's what they do. This has all been documented by Dr. Peter Breggin.
You must have seen the report, because that's exactly the drug. 2 of the ones. They put her on more, too. And then when you get sick from it, they put you on more until they kill you. I learned they kill over 2,000 a year. They admit in foster care with the drugs. I mean, they're actually killing them.
That's right. This is murder out in the open. Murder out in the open. And now we have the numbers, conservative estimate of the numbers, but nevertheless, 100,000 deaths a year in the United States as a direct result of medical drugs. It's on the FDA's website. It's there. They can't worm around it. They'll try. They'll give you all kinds of excuses and reasons and tap dances. But right now, if Eric Holder had any guts, he would be driving a car down the street, and he would be arresting the commissioner of the FDA on a charge of murder. And then you would see the entire medical establishment from one end of the planet to the other shaking in their boots.
But let's look at what he really did. But let's look at what he really did. He drove the guns down to Mexico and the hand grenades, and he also dropped by Oklahoma City once upon a time. So he likes what's happening. This is a very dangerous, wicked person. And again, that goes to Big Pharma is big eugenics. I know you've researched that. Tell people why they're doing this, because it's not just about profit. This is a loving religion of hurting people.
Absolutely. I mean, they want to decimate, the majority of the population of the planet, either by, outright killing them, making them infertile, or consigning them to some sort of horrendous existence at an extremely low level, as portrayed, for example, in Hunger Games. And then the elites would be genetically enhanced by the, quote, latest technology, so that they would be, supposedly, in heavy quotes, superior to everybody else. I mean, these academics, we talked about this before, like Lee Silver at Princeton and so forth, remaking Eden, they're just coming right out and saying it. The people that have enough money will buy the designer genes, G-E-N-E-S, and they will have their kids modified, made more intelligent.
But it's better. They also say start killing babies up to 3 and kill anybody if they become old. And Bill Gates says kill grandma.
Exactly. Yep, that's right. Babies, we talked about that article as well. Oh, sure, you got a kid who's, a year old, 2 years old, and somebody decides the kid should be killed. That's called after-birth abortion. Suddenly, a new term comes in. The elderly are too much trouble, kill them. Very easy to do in nursing homes, bang. In fact, I knew a manufacturer of hyperbaric oxygen tanks. You can read all about that if you Google it, who was on the verge of signing a contract with a string of nursing homes because they found that when patients received this oxygen, they became more agile, more alert. They came back into their minds again. They were no longer senile and so forth. And then at the last minute, the contract was canceled. And this guy I knew who manufactured the hyperbaric oxygen said to the owner of the nursing homes, "What's going on, man? Why did you cancel the contract?" And the guy said, "Well, I talked to my people, and they said they don't want these old people alert. They don't want them alive. They want to warehouse them. They want to drug them. They want to keep them unconscious."
And now yuppies think it's cute to go, yeah, kill babies, kill old people. Don't these fools get it's going to happen to them? And it's going to be like 5 minutes from now they're going to be old? But plus, even if you don't care about old folks, a society that does this is going to go after everybody. These fools that think as long as it's somebody else, they're getting ahead by someone else being hurt. They're such idiots.
People like this always think that they're the elite. I've got a connection to the big top. I've got a connection to important people. This is the way people like this, the yuppified class, behaves and acts. And they're going to be in for a serious shock when they, when they are suddenly on the death assembly line because nobody cares about them who has any actual, clout in this country.
But who wants to live in a world where it's a bunch of trendies prancing around that love death, and then there's no one real around you, and these people are so empty? I just can't believe that they've done this, because it's been scientific with the media. They've really turned America and the rest of the world, large sections, into just vapid, empty husk, but it doesn't matter. I don't want to die, and I don't want other innocents to die.
Neither do I. Neither do I. And this is why, if you can look at this information head on, and you can see that the government is admitting this, it's a wake-up of a different order of magnitude. Because now, it's like somebody coming into your house and saying, "Hi, I'm the killer. I've got chemical warfare. I do this to people every day, and I'm in power, and this is my name, and this is my face. You see me now." And now when you see it up close and personal, it's not the same anymore. Well, the FDA is getting as close and personal as they can by admitting this on their website, that they're the killers. It's like an ad. We're the killers. We're killing you. What are you going to do?
And we're going to use drones on you, and the street lights are watching you. Ha, ha, ha. And we're going to grab your genitals and abuse your children at the airports and highways next. And we're going to force inoculations on you. Mercury's good for you. Ha, ha, ha. My friends, pray, spend time thinking about, however you get focused on things, the plight of this world. We have eugenicists that in thousands of publications, Rockefeller documents we post all the time, admit they jacked the vaccines, the food, the GMO with Trojan horses. All over the West, they're killing us, and they're bragging about it. And they study us. They built the internet to track everybody. Now it's backfiring on them because we don't care. Track us, crooks. It doesn't scare us. And when the minions, because I think John hit the key here, as I started the show with today, yuppies. You could be white, black, Hispanic, Asian, Russian, Chinese, from South America, from wherever. There's always people who are minions of the system. Even a McDonald's manager who thinks because they're the manager that they're talking to the CEO of the company or something. Folks, I am a powerful person, okay? I don't really get up here and talk about that, but we do reach 15 million people a week conservatively one way or another. That's big, okay? And with our message, it's even bigger. Instead of me being on a power trip, it is an incredible weight of responsibility and frustration. But I look at these nobodies, just because they're wearing the right watch and the outfit, like getting off of being rude to people and into their ego, and I don't care what's happening, oh, that's made up, as if those of us that care are bad. Or that we're weak because we care. No, I'm not weak because I care. I'm strong, okay? And I know you've got a philosophy degree. You're also a journalist, John. But, can you quantify in closing what we're facing? That is the problem we face, is that all these minions of the system, whether it's cops or bureaucrats or corporate people, they think because they've bought into the system, they're getting power from it. And it's a lie. It's laughing at you. You think because you're assessing somebody as a cop, you're not being assessed? Go ahead.
You got it, Alex. That's the picture. Everybody sits there who thinks that they have a connection. Oh, well, I know so-and-so. Yeah, I'm a friend of the mayor. Hey, I once met so-and-so, at a party. People will delude themselves beyond belief to think that they're somehow connected on the inside because they've got a certain kind of a car or a house or whatever it is. It's insanity. And therefore, whatever bad is going to come down the pipeline, it's not going to affect them because they're special. And my friends are special, and we're okay. It's just all these other idiots that are going to take the brunt of the action. And, of course, that is the height of complete delusion and stupidity, because they don't care about you at all. They do not care about you at all. So why not stand up and speak the truth? Since they don't care, stand up and speak the truth. It's a lot better, believe me. I can tell you from experience, than just lying there and looking up at the ceiling. Find out the truth and speak it and see what happens. You'll live a much more adventurous life, believe me, and we'll all be a lot better off.
That's right. When everybody goes along to get along, things stagnate and implode. There is such a danger in going along with this. And people can see now it's getting crazier and crazier by the minute. Civilizations go crazy. The elite have gone crazy. They're just like the yuppies that think they're in control. I had Dr. Roberts on a few days ago, and he agreed. The elite are digging their own grave. Do you agree with that statement?
Yes, absolutely. It's suicidal. You know, you're watching people who think that they're putting something powerful into effect. They're actually killing themselves in the process. That's what's going on, because they reach the end of what they can think about and do. They didn't get what they wanted. They never knew what they really wanted. I mean, they say they wanted power, but the more power they got, it was never ending. It didn't make any difference. And so they check out eventually. I mean, they just think to themselves on some level, I got to kill myself because everything I thought and planned for that I thought was going to bring me everything I wanted is absolute nothing.
Only being good and deciding that you stand for good and really learning what good is, because good is secret. It's hard to find, will fulfill you. Jon Rappoport, thank you so much for the great report. It's at your website. Thank you so much. Powerful information. Big show tonight, 7.